Good evening. This is News Network. Welcome to the show. I'm Doug Cosma. This is Mike Penny, and we are honored to have Mark Victor Hansen and his beautiful wife on our show tonight. And we're going to be talking out there about their book, Ask. I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves a little bit and get to know them a little bit more about what they do.
Well, listen, we're thankful to be on. I think most of you have probably seen one of my books at your house or at your kid's house. It is called Chicken Soup for the Soul, which I sold 500 million copies of. And now we've got this brand new book out, like Doug was just showing you, called Ask, the Bridge from Your Dream to Your Destiny. And we think every one of you out there has a destiny, not only financially, spiritually, socially, but also probably politically and emotionally and spiritually. And what we want to do is our destiny is help you get to your destiny. And we think the only way to get out of COVID confinement cocoon is one and only one way, and that is to learn to ask. And we've gone through every problem in the world individually and collectively, and we'd like to talk to you about it and see if that doesn't help illuminate you and help you do stuff that you didn't know that you could do. And if you get a copy of the book, I see it streaming across the bottom. We got a free book club called askthebookclub.com. We'd love to have you talk to us and ask us anything you want. But tonight, we're going to start here. I will let my wife add to that, and then we'll go into it, and Doug and Mike can ask questions.
Sure.
So, yeah, I just want to introduce myself a little bit. I'm a certified life coach, transformational coach, and I just, find a way to bring out the best in people. That's what I've done for a lot of years. And so Mark and I, when we sat down to write this book, we're just so privileged to be able to travel around the world, pre-COVID, of course, and, just meet a lot of really amazing people. And what we started noticing is, like, most people honestly have like 4 times more talent than they'll ever use in this lifetime. Mm-hmm. But it was so strange to us because we'd see people, meet this woman who's like, wow, she's so brilliant. She could be running a city and she's barely getting by, or some guy that should be like the COO of a company. And, he's having a tough time. And we're like, what is it? Why is it people who are equally talented are falling short of their dreams? And so we kind of sat down and said, what was it in our lives? Because it hasn't always been a bowl of cherries for us. A lot of people think that, because we're successful now and we've been able to accomplish a lot of things, that it was always easy. And it's not true. It's not true for anyone who's had success. We've been through a lot of adversity, individually and together. And so we started questioning that, like, what was it that got us out of it? If we could reduce it down to one thing that would be really helpful for people, what was that? And really what it came down to was the ability to be able to ask the right question at the right time in the right way when you're stuck and you're not moving forward and things are terrible, that got us out of where we were and got us moving down that road, or what we call the path to your destiny again. And so as we started developing the idea, we just got super excited. We're like, everyone needs to know this. Everyone deserves to know this. And started writing the book, and it's having a lot of success. We're really thankful for it, because especially that it's helping a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. And in this time that we're going through right now with all this uncertainty in our lives, we need something and the Bible's number one with me to fall back on, but we need something to build our self-help, our inner selves out. And if you don't ask what you're capable of, you can't get to where you're going, I don't think, can you?
No, and that's exactly correct. And we say there's only 3 channels to asking. Ask yourself, like you were just saying, ask others. And then the big one for us is also ask God. And we're looking at, and we do this Ask the Book Club, and we're doing Ask God. We're saying the whole Bible is nothing but asking. I mean, if you look at the Old Testament, God asked Solomon, well, what do you want, pal? He said, just one thing, wisdom. And because if you got wisdom, you got everything else. And the only way to get to wisdom is by asking. And then what you said is that Jesus said, ask and you shall receive. Well, perfect advice, great advice, excellent advice. The problem was nobody detailed how you do that. So we said, well, wait a second. We've written a lot of books, had 318 books out. So we sort of thought we could have a crack at this little thing and see if we could make it so simple, so easy, with relatable stories that everybody could go through. And we even started this, with the fable of Michaela, because we thought everybody likes a fable, and Crystal wrote it. And all I said is we got to put it in the front, so we've got the world's longest fable at the beginning. And it just, I don't know, did you have time to read it, Doug or Mike?
I just got the book this afternoon. I got to get through a couple of pages, and I'll probably get through the whole book by the end of the weekend. But the thing is, like I said, if you don't ask, you can't receive. I don't want to leave nothing on the table in my life. If God's got things for me and things inside of me, I want to be able to activate that, so to speak, so I can use that to better myself. We're just two ordinary guys doing extraordinary things through God. And I feel like that is what got us to where we're at and where we're going to go. And we'll use the book to better ourselves. It just seems like where we got is through God and through this book. Like I said, I didn't get through much of it, but it seems like just right off the first page, if you don't interact and ask, you're not going to receive. Is that correct?
Boy, that is so true. And it's really sad because we all come into this world as like these beautiful little uncorrupted askers, straight from heaven. And we are not afraid. We are so curious. We want to know who, what, when, where, why, how. All we do is ask, right? And we're not afraid to ask for more. And we're actually pretty much not afraid to ask for anything, right? As kids. Right. And then, but that's how we grow and evolve, that's how it's meant to be. That's why God gave us curiosity and the ability to ask. Human beings are the only animal that has the ability to ask, right? We're supposed to. It's a part of our development, our evolution in life, so we can grow and become all that God made us to be. But what happens is, depending on how, we were parented, what happened at school, we're told, stop asking questions. I'm tired of hearing you, or, sit down, don't talk, and don't ask any questions unless you're called upon, or, basically at work, your opinion's not valued. All of these things that start to make us feel rejected in life. And pretty soon we find ourselves standing there as full grown adults, kind of pretty much terrified to ask anyone anything, and kind of ashamed that we don't somehow already have all the answers. Which is really a tragedy, because there's no way any of us is ever going to have all the answers. We're here to learn and grow. And so, we need to be a resource to one another. No one can do this life alone. Certainly, first of all, you need God. And then we need to be able to lean on each other. We need to have each other as a resource. And we need to be able to ask each other those important things that come up for all of us.
Mike, did you have any questions?
I would like to have a question, and some input as well. I mean, we've talked a lot about unity and the coming revival of humanity across the world, not just here in the United States. And God has obviously been a big part of that, but we're at a bridge now that we need to cross, like you were talking, where we're scared of our vulnerability. And this book, I'm presuming, because I've only read what I've seen online, and because I haven't got the book yet, but I've only read what I've seen online and a few reviews as well. And I'm presuming that this book's going to be a great path to leading us down that trail of uncovering and quit sweeping our vulnerabilities under the rug and stepping out into our real selves, both spiritually and physically, and embraces unity and humanity that we're all about to walk into through the grace of God.
Oh boy, that is so true, Mike. And that the three, like Mark mentioned, ask yourself, ask others, and ask God, each of those channels is equally important. And, you're kind of talking about that reflective journey. The ask yourself part is the reflective journey. We all need to start asking ourselves, how did we get here? How is it that we fell for all of these messages that the media gives us that try to divide us as human beings? There's one creator, and he created every one of us. And so, it's the old divide and conquer, make everybody feel like you're different than me. You're separate. Ooh, you're in this camp. I'm in that camp. We're in different boxes. If you box everybody out, then there's no human connection. And in the Bible, we see again and again how Jesus talks about the oneness of him and God, the oneness of us with him, and now, and us with one another, love one another, like you love yourself, and love God. I mean, it's about oneness. And so we really have to start asking these questions, start taking that reflective journey. First of all, to figure out where we are now, like, and all the little questions that come under that. Where do we want to be? Because so few people take the time to ask those deep probing questions of ourselves, like, where do I really want to be? And then, what are the action steps that I need to take to get there? And all of those things are just so important to ponder, when you're going through the book, and there's a ton of questions in the book that really start to trigger those answers.
Yeah, and these
That's
times
awesome.
I've got a lot of questions, to be honest with
All
you.
right. Well, by the way, we're open to any questions you want, and we hope to be a resource to everybody and sort of a mirror so people can look in, because 1974, I'm 73, but I'm going to live to be 127 with options for renewal, because Genesis 3:6 said you're supposed to do 120 years. Well, most people didn't know that, but so they made a Social Security goal. I'm going to beat the government. The government's going to owe me a retirement. Government owes nothing. And the trouble is, anything you take from the government, the government has to take from you and I first. So that's a different position than most people have. So back to the deal is, you said you want to have your full potential. In 1974, I lost everything overnight. I went bankrupt, lost $2 million. I asked the wrong question. Like Crystal was saying, oh my God, what if I go bankrupt? And I check a book in the library, how to go bankrupt by yourself. But you want to screw up your life, that'll do it. And for 6 months, I'm sleeping in front of another guy's bedroom.
Wow.
And I'm going, oh God, come on, tell me, what am I supposed to do with myself? I'm ready to slash my wrist. I am ready to be over now, because I thought my self-worth and net worth were the same. They are not. They're totally different. You've always got to take care of your self-esteem. That's why Jesus said, be about your Father's business. So, and your Father's business is taking good care of yourself at every level. So you can fulfill your potential. But finally, I said, okay, God, what is it I'm supposed to do? And my first miracle came through. Says I'm supposed to talk to people. Actually, God said, well, Mark, what is it you want to do? And I go, what? Are you sure? Yeah, are you okay? You talking to me? I got it. Okay, I got it. And I said, well, I'd like to talk to people that care about things that matter, that would make a life-changing difference. And I mean, holy cow, now I know what I want to do. I got 3 roommates in Hicksville, Long Island, New York. Things were not very good, right? Paying $100 a month rent. So you can see that I'm not styling, profiling, I'm not making it at all. So I go to my roommates and I say, boys, any of you know somebody young that's out speaking? I was 20-something, and that's not a lawyer, not a doctor, not a celebrity, not a Broadway star, not a famous person, and somebody I can relate to. And the guy said, yeah. There's this guy out in Hauppauge, Long Island, New York, and here's my ticket. You take my ticket and you go, and just tell him you're me if you got to get in. Well, I drive my little beat-up old $400 pitted window, permanently air-conditioned Volkswagen out there. I had to wipe the snow off the windows. I mean, you guys know what that looks like. So he mesmerized the audience for 3 hours. This is the worst economy America ever had until right now. So, I mean, the interest rates are 28%. Nobody's buying or selling. He's making the audience laugh, cry, moving them. So miracle number 1, God talks to me. Miracle number 2, my roommate has a ticket to something that I didn't know even existed, or a guy that I knew existed. Number 3, guy's done. I walk up to him and I say, I'm Mark Victor Hansen, and I want to ask you if I can take you to lunch and learn how to do what you do. He said, look, kid, his voice was burned out after 3 hours. Said, look, kid, chance of you making it is 0. Why don't you go do a real business? And so thanks for the encouragement, Bubba. Let me buy you lunch and tell me how to do this business. He said, okay. But I own the 5 boroughs here for real estate of New York. There's 5, little islands, or Manhattan and Long Island. Anyhow, I said, okay, so what? He said, you go in life insurance. Well, hell, I didn't know what life insurance was. I didn't have a premium. I didn't know what a CLU was. I didn't nothing. But I said, okay, tell me what to say. He told me, and then finish and say, pretend you guys are agents. I say, Mike and Doug, do you want to cut the check or have your secretary cut it? And I said, I can cut it. Anyhow, so I did 1,000 talks the first 3 years because there's nothing else for me to do. I either doing a talk or selling talks. I started at 6 in the morning, talk at 10, talk at 2, talk at 8 or 9 at night. I didn't care. There was nothing else to do 6 or 7 days a week. If they'd hire me, I was there, and it was just a ball, and I loved it. But then they said, you're such a good storyteller. Do you have it in a book? So my first book was Stand Up, Speak Out, and Win. And to little itty-bitty audiences of 10 people, 20, never over 50, I said, this isn't a New York Times bestseller. It's not a national bestseller, but it's my bestseller.
I got you.
With your permission, I'd like to autograph it to you, your wife, your kids. And if you got a dog, Mike, I'll sign it to your dog. I don't care. And everybody laughed. They bought the book. I sold 20,000 copies. I made $200,000. Well, today's money, back to then, that's like $2 million, man. I got Chrysler Cordoba with Corinthian leather. I was smoking.
Caribbean leather.
Sweet. So
Can you
let,
go ahead, Mike?
So let me ask you. One of the things that is big with our group is the PTSD and the vets. If they pick up the book, is there going to be something in there to help start that journey for them?
Oh my gosh, I think it'll be really, really helpful because we have something like the holding up the mirror questions. So when we feel like we're in a situation that's stressful, whether it's in a relationship with someone else or just stuff that's happening in our lives, the best thing to do is sit in a quiet place. We really believe in prayer and meditation. Prayer is talking to God. Meditation is receiving God, listening and being quiet. So be still and know that I am God. Well, often we just aren't very still. We've got junk coming at us every second of the day, right? With our pings and our dings and our notifications, and everybody's bugging us and craziness. So the stillness is super important. We talk about that in the book, and we talk about some of the questions we go through and some of our process in going into that quiet place to be with yourself and be with God and start asking yourself those holding up the mirror questions. Because you guys, God gave us this beautiful ability to achieve this oneness, this connection through the Holy Spirit. And so if we go into that stillness, all of a sudden, everything that's external to that just doesn't seem as important. And then you start on that journey of asking those questions, those holding up in the mirror questions. What does this really mean? Is this something that, this thing that I'm experiencing, is it baggage from my past, or is it something that's real that I need to be upset about? All of these things that if we just take that time in quietness and peace and stillness and start asking ourselves and asking God, all of a sudden we start to feel calm and we start to feel okay. We start to feel relaxed. And the most important thing is really understanding that it's an illusion. We look around our lives and we think everything outside of us is our life. That whole external world is just coming at us and we're ducking and dodging and we're trying to keep our balls up in the air. And honestly, that's not your life. Your life is created, literally the life you will experience is created from the inside through your own heart and mind and your own connection to God, the divine source of everything, the creator of the universe, creator of all. That's the life you'll create. That's the life experience if you'll take the time to do it and stop thinking that, because honestly, when you start doing that, you realize you really do, with God, control your life. I mean, stuff's still going to happen, but you're controlling the experience with your best friend, Jesus by your side. It's just so amazing, right? I mean, I can't tell you how so many people have gotten this book. We've had like big, strong podcasters get on and go, I started going through this book. I've never cried in a book before. And I cried when I started going through this book process.
Mike, can I add one more thing, Mike and Doug?
Sure.
Absolutely.
So Crystal and I are falling in love long ago, and we're sitting in Costa Mesa at Mother's Market and having a nice meal. And guy, a man of the cloth, is sitting in his little white collar black suit, and he's a senior. He's 92 years old, he tells us. And he leans in and he says, I see you guys are really in love. Do you mind if I tell you how to stay happily married forever? And they go, what a nice leading question. The guy with the question, how am I going to turn down a sweet little old man of the cloth, right? I'm not going to do that. So I said, okay, why do you know, and lay it on me? And he said, well, for 70 years, I'm 92. I've been running Billy Graham's marital ministries, and there's only one thing that makes it. And he said, what's that, sir? And he said, you got to pray out loud with your spouse morning and night. Now, Crystal and I had prayed at church. We'd prayed in meetings. We prayed all over the place, but never out loud with each other, and thought, wow. So I'm going to pass it to you, Miss Crystal.
Well, no, I just think, like Mark said, I mean, you pray in groups. I prayed mostly, I'd always prayed by myself alone, and I'd never prayed out loud with my spouse. We were each married before, and we're like, wow, that's a whole new level of intimacy. When you have spiritual intimacy, it's the greatest level of intimacy you can have with one another as a married couple. And to really share and like the vulnerability that you were talking about, Mike. You know, sometimes we just want to pray quietly on all our weaknesses and things like that, but there is something really amazing. So Mark and I are like, okay, let's try this thing, praying out loud together every single day, and in a really deep, you know, intimate way. And it was amazing. I mean, and we really believe that's guided us a lot. It's really given us a higher level of connection, because yeah, it is the greatest level of intimacy.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Anything, Doug.
If you guys didn't know, these two were the key speakers at Clay Clark's event in Oklahoma. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience out there, meeting so many Patriots in one spot? I watched the whole thing online. It was totally amazing. And Ken Walls told me to ask you that.
Well, God bless Kenny. We think the world of Ken. First of all, we arrived there, and the night before, we had a major banquet with everybody that was anybody that's speaking on the next day. We're talking about Lynn Wood. We're talking about Mike, Mr. Pillow himself, Lindell, who is amazing, and General Flynn. And the next day, I want to do one quick aside. I interviewed General Flynn, and he and our grandparents. We got 6 grandkids, and I said how important is reading, and he went on. I had him on videotape, and it was like 15 minutes. I can send it to you if you want. It'll blow your mind, because we love all those guys, but we love Flynn. But let me just do one aside, and then she can talk about the rest. We're staying. The hotels are sold out. Right. Somehow Clay got us a little bit late into a hotel, but he's got an amazing building. So if you go there, you got to go see his building. But we're back at the hotel trying to check in, and it's now 11:30 or 12 at night. And who walks in behind us? But Mike Lindell. And he's got 8 or 9 bags on his little cart. He's got no helpers. He's a billionaire, having sold pillows and sheets and all that stuff. Here's what blew our minds, though. First of all, he's the nicest guy. He's down to earth, but he's a genius. A lot of people think, well, the guy's a cocaine crackhead. He's, written he wrote it for him. He wrote his own book. He is a genius. But what blew my mind is we're standing there, and he'd already met us, and we knew each other. There's Mike. And we got it signed and all that. So. And I hope you read it. It's a great book, and he's a stunning storyteller. Anyhow, over the counter comes the people. We're at whatever hotel we're at, some little dopey hotel.
Oh, no, it's Marriott.
It's a Marriott hotel. Sorry, a Marriott Courtyard. So, but at night, you're getting there, and there's nobody to help you and nothing. Not only the guy at the front desk called, but he calls us, everybody on duty, come here real quick. We're going to get a hug with Mike Lindell, the pillow man. And you go, what in the hell happened? That's how conservative Tulsa is. It was amazing. And he was tired. I'm not besmirching him. I'm just saying he worked hard. He worked hard. He was bedraggled. It's late at night. He hugged everyone. He took pictures of everyone. And we were standing there in awe. And he said, you want to be in the picture? I said, no. I've had enough pictures. Thank you. It was just, with that, I passed it to you.
We were really blessed because, we got to hang out in the green room with all these people for a couple days. Wow. It was so special to just really have these, quiet conversations and just see where they're at. And they're so dedicated to, helping us solve this problem, but we all realize that we all need to be just as dedicated. I mean, there isn't a single one of us who can't be an activist, who we each have to, I think we used to think as conservatives, mind our business, like vote the right way, do our jobs, love our families, and everything will be okay. Well, it's not. We all need to become, in the meantime, while we were doing that, and, people got in and did a lot of really bad things behind the scenes, and it really created a lot of problems. We lost a lot. And so it's time for all of us to step up. Each one of us has an important role. We need to activate. If you're not, like running for school boards, you think you could trust what was going on, but all these things are being revealed to us. What are you teaching our children again? But you know what, you guys, in a way, it's our own fault. We didn't ask. We didn't inquire. We weren't curious enough. We talked about curiosity. It's one of the things, we let ourselves, one of the 7 roadblocks, we talk about the 7 roadblocks to asking in this book, and they're all roadblocks that keep you from your success and happiness. Well, one of them is naivete. We were all naive because we didn't ask. We just weren't curious and wondering enough what was going on in our own school, systems. Now in Arizona, Utah, a lot of places like that, parents are running for school board. They are the ones who are going to make the decisions. They are the ones who are going to know what the heck their children are reading and being taught. And you know what? I don't like to say shame, but shame on us for being asleep at the wheel. All of us were a little bit asleep at the wheel. Let's be honest, you guys, but we don't have to be anymore. We need to ask all the questions. We need to know who we're voting for, what they really stand for. We needed to ask questions about how our voting system and our polling systems work. I know here in Arizona where we are, after we figured out, started asking more questions, some of my conservative friends, she would work at the polls, and she said, you can't believe how bad this is, Crystal. We show up with maybe 200 conservative people to work the polls. And we started noticing the problem here in 2018, by the way, and in the midterms. And she said, the other side shows up with 700 people. So where are we, guys? It's our own fault. We need to ask, we need to wonder, we need to inquire, we need to make it our business, and then we need to step up and activate ourselves to make the changes.
And not only have we done that, but just so you know, we're on those kind of letters, and when we get them, we say, hey, everybody, we're doing the audit, which is happening right now in our great state of Arizona, which is got so many blue moving in here. So the people are literally coming out of the woodwork now. We've got every retiree willing to go because we're saying, hey, look, we're using our voice, our influence. Because here's what Solomon said, in case you haven't memorized Psalm 72. The most important thing, Doug and Mike, and everyone listening, is be an influencer of influencers.
Right.
Now you go, well, wait a second. I'm just a housewife. I'm a waitress. I'm a janitor. I'm a garbage man. No. You're not just. You're a human. What does our book say? Our book says you are not a human being. You're a human becoming.
Right.
Your spirituality unfolding, and the only way it unfolds is what Crystal says. God gave only human beings the ability to ask, only human beings the ability to have an imagination, only human beings the sense to laugh. And we've got to start laughing more because we've got some serious problems, and we've got to laugh at the problems, shrink the problems like I've written in other books, and expand the opportunity for everybody, expand the promotion for everybody, expand free enterprise for everybody.
Yeah, I believe we have to rebuild this country from the bottom up, and that starts at school board meetings. It starts at city council meetings. We got to pay attention to the people we put in an office because they're making the everything that happens with us, and then we go to check back. And wait a minute, I didn't vote on that. Wait a minute, I didn't agree with that. And they pass some kind of bill or they pass some kind of law that you're not even aware of, and your child is up against something you never thought would ever happen to them. You know what I'm saying? So I believe, like General Flynn said, we need to rebuild from the bottom up the United States. Also, I wanted to ask you guys, I know it's probably been a day or two before you, and I know you speak in big crowds all the time. Were the people there fired up in the audience? It looked like they were on the live stream. It looks like they were going crazy there.
They were wonderful. They were enlightened. They were cheering us on, cheering on everybody. And what's amazing is that Clay packed that thing with, I'm going to give you the number, 38 people that were all superstars. And like Crystal said, we're in a green room, and then we're in the media room. And again, whatever I tell you, your media happens so fast. You're doing 10 or 20, 30 things one day, and we were there for 3 days. We were so clear that this is what we needed to do, where we needed to be, how we needed to learn, that we attended everything, listened to everybody. Obviously, we signed, thousands of books or whatever the number was. Lots of books to lots of people.
Right.
It was exciting. Yeah. Sorry if I overstated that. But it's such an amazing group that they were so packed, and we just liked everybody there. And the people were all hospitable. They got along. I'll do you one other side that there's no way anyone would ever tell you this. Martial artist has got muscles on his muscles, big, strong guy. Clay put him toward the front of the place. It's on the third day, and these two guys come in and say they're journalists. This guy's inner knower. When we're in this position, you got to have your inner knower on red alert all the time. Right. So these two guys came in, and they go up to this guy he's wearing form-fitting shirts. He's a bodybuilder, but he's super smart. Now, the trouble is a lot of people think, a musclehead's going to be an idiot. I work out every day we go to a great club, and I promise you, there are a lot of muscular guys, but they're all damn smart. If they live in Scottsdale by us, they got some money, honey, and they've been doing some good work. Well, this guy, now he had money. He's down in Florida, but he's super smart. And these guys come in. He said, well, what do you guys represent? They say, we this. Said, well, I got to call your boss. And and he grabs their phones. Now, when a guy weighs 350 pounds and is 4% body fat, you probably don't screw with him when he's grabbing your phone.
No.
He said, let me just look here who the last calls you made. And the last calls and the faxes all said, the text, go ahead, say what it said. Do you remember?
Well, they were just trying to represent that they were from like a conservative news outlet, that they were approved and that they were sent by, they lied. They just flat out lied. And so I think it's when they had to go through the detector, the medical detector, he grabbed their phones out of that. It was so funny. And while they're trying to talk to the other guy, he's so smart. He just looked at their text and they're like, oh yeah, we need to shut this blanking Clay Clark down.
Oh.
They were totally like, yeah, liberal. So
now we had 57 police there. So this guy,
he called
all the
arrested.
all the police were our buddies, right? I mean, anybody that's an idiot goes in and thinks police. How the hell anyone can be against law and order is beyond my brain cells, right? I mean, I've always loved police. I've loved law and order, military, all that stuff. And we talked to 20,000 people in the military, wounded warriors, all that stuff. These guys. All the police that were super strong, Tulsa guys who we talked to, shook hands. They knew who we were and we knew who they were. This guy, Mr. Muscles, calls over the police and said, boys, arrest these guys and don't let them out. No bail.
For trespassing. He just said arrest him for trespassing.
Oh, my goodness. That's great.
They got arrested for trespassing. That
is a great story right there.
Yeah, they sure were trespassing, and it's amazing how God put that gentleman in there, you know, with his physique and his ability to scope it out as it was happening. You know,
it was amazing, and he caught them just in time. I mean, yeah, like they were two total really against everybody there. I mean, it really would have been disastrous. They were gonna infiltrate. I mean, it was just so
divine intervention. I mean, we've seen it a lot. We've seen it a lot. I mean, we've seen it not even on our show. We've seen it digitally with our show. We've seen it from the story you just told. We've seen it, in the news, in the mainstream media as well. You know, when they open their mouth and they can't do nothing but say what God's telling them to say, we're going to see more and more of that. And the time has come where truth is going to be told no matter what. And that's it.
I love that.
That's why I love the book and the discussion that we're having tonight. And I appreciate so much y'all sharing with us because that truth, we're going to have those truthful conversations with ourselves, like you were talking about. And we're going to have to grow from that. And the wisdom that's going to come from it is going to help unite all of us. I really do believe that.
Well, because sorry.
No, there's more good. The thing that we have a hard time realizing because of the systems that have been put in place and ruled over us for so long, we have a hard time realizing that there's more good in the world than there is bad.
Oh, wow. I'm so glad you said that because we need to remember the light, if the room's dark, if there are some shadows in the corner, just turn on the light. Turn on the light. You cannot live. The darkness will not live in the light. So we just need to remember our duty is to do the work on ourselves, you guys, because what happens is darkness hides itself in a lot of ways. It disguises itself in the form of hopelessness, discouragement. Discouragement, they say, it's been said that discouragement is the first tool of the devil, right? The first tool of the enemy. Because you get discouraged and then you start losing hope and then you get hopeless and then you get into depression. And pretty soon, how can you be a warrior for truth and light and God if you're in this state? Well, who just won? Who just won that battle? So we have to stay. We have to do the inner work. Our job is to start there, do the inner work and really come clean with ourselves, come clean with our purpose, come clean with everything that we're supposed to be and become on this earth, because God seeded our greatness. That's why we say, you know, it's the bridge from your dreams to your destiny, because one of the roadblocks we talk about in the book is disconnection.
Right.
And that's one of the saddest ones for me. That means, you know, you become disconnected from the dreams in your own heart. And you're robbing the entire world of your presence at its best when you become disconnected. And God put those seeds in your heart. You need to connect back to those dreams and take this journey with us so that we can we can all show up every day as the warriors of light.
Yeah, because what Jesus said is the kingdom of heaven is within. Now, once it's within, you say, well, wait a second, I read Acres of Diamonds or whatever you read. How come it's inside me? Well, it's inside all of us, but the only way it comes out is with questions. I've never said this before. That's unquestionable.
So listen, all our listeners out there, our Frogonites, go out and get this book. All right. Order it today. You can get it on Amazon. You can go to his askbook.com, askthebookclub.com and get the book. I wanted to ask you a question. What would you, without revealing too much what's in the book, recommend that's in the book for people that struggle with their business, struggled with financially and stuff like that due to the COVID stuff, and just let us know what it attends to in the book?
Okay, well, look, we talk about 4 zones in the book, but the zone you're asking about is ask the right business questions. And what I did with my own story earlier, I'll just reiterate just the abbreviated highlights. You know, I asked God, what am I supposed to be doing here? Because I'm not feeling right. If you go to bed and do one of the things we're teaching in the book, God, what's your destiny for me in business? God, what's your destiny for me in business? God, what's your destiny for me in business? And push back sleep and slumber and do it 100 to 400 times if you can. You will wake up probably in the middle of the night. So you got to tell your spouse or spouse equivalent, honey, I'm sorry to tell you this, but I'm going to wake up in the middle of the night. And if I believe Mark, and I think I do, you know, it worked for him. I got to have a pad and I got to have a pen, right, and I'm going to have the answer, because God never fails. But you say, oh, I'll remember that in the morning. There's not one of us that remembers all of our stuff when we go, oh, I'll remember that in the morning. I don't want to get out of bed now. I'm comfortable and I'm in deep sleep. No, get your little butt out of bed. Go turn on the light. If you have to go secretly in the bathroom, shut the door, but write down exactly what was said in detail, because I told you what the 3 words are I had to do. And then, you know, once God starts to say, I'm going to do it, Romans, I think it's 10:22, says God in His ways are past finding out. So once you know what your destiny is, and all of us got one. Crystal and I believe, after all this research and talking to tens of thousands of people, you're coded at birth with DNA and RNA to do this thing. And if you don't do it, this isn't a dress rehearsal. God sent us in here to go do something great and spectacular, and Crystal's going to add to that.
Well, I was just going to say, we also have some other really practical tips for business owners. You know, we talk about just in the business relationship, why asking is so important. And we have a lot of cool stories, which is really nice. We tell real stories of real people, how they implemented questions and the right business scenario to make all the difference. And one of those is a story about Preston Weeks. And it just talks about how, you know, when we do business, oftentimes we get so caught up in what we want to sell or what we have that we just go in and we just start pitching. And this is why I'm so great. This is why you should buy it from me. This is what I have. What we really need to do, you can do an overview of that, but what you really need to do is start by asking questions. You are not going to be able to do business with someone unless you create a bond with someone.
Absolutely.
And the way you create a bond with someone is by asking the right questions. And those are questions like, and we have lots of them in the book, but it's like, you know, what are your biggest pain points as a business owner, as a person? You know, if I were to help you solve your 3 biggest problems, what would that look like for you? You know, how much of a difference would it make if I was able to do this for you? Ask them the questions. People love it when you ask them questions. They will open up their heart and soul to you.
Absolutely.
And they will start to trust you because, you know, they'll realize you do have their interest at heart. You care enough to ask them about them and their, if it's a B2B, their business, or if it's a customer, about their life. You know, so it's just so important, you guys. This thing, it seems like such a little benign word, ask, but it just makes seismic changes in your life when you utilize the strategies and the principles.
I
I know
believe that
from
God. Oh, go ahead, Mike. I'm
no,
sorry.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I believe that God's spirit lives in every one of us. And if we don't ask him for things, just like in your book, they'll be left on the shelf. Do you follow what I'm saying? Along
Yep.
with your prayers, your ideas, and things to open your mind, to expand them, to go places you never thought you could go. I never could thought that I'd be where I'm at today from this show. But if I limited myself, I'd never be here. Do you follow what I'm saying? So I just feel like if you don't ask for it, you can't get it. You got to ask God, and you got to thank him like he's already given it to you, but you have to ask for it. Would you guys agree with that?
Totally. Jesus said, prayers are the things for which you're praying have been received. Meaning you got to have it before you get it. Sounds like gobbledygook, but the best story we have in a book on that, for my money, is a guy named Jim Stovall wrote the book, The Ultimate Gift. I wrote the endorsement, said this has got to be a movie. Long story short, here's a guy who is a superstar football player in high school, gets recruited to the NFL, is now feeling his Wheaties, so to speak, and the doctor comes back shaking his head and said, kid, I've never given bad news like this before. 6 months from now, you're going to be totally, absolutely, and forever blind. Well, he's self-incarcerated in a little 9x12 room. He's got a radio, he's got a television, and a telephone, and his parents, say, look, Jimmy, all you're doing is complaining. Go down to the blind meeting and see if they can help you. Well, he goes down there, and it's an echo chamber for blindness. This is why we got to shut off negative media, and stuff like Frog News Network is a great idea. So he sits next to this woman, and he said, in the old days, and she's a blind stenographer for a law firm, says, I used to love to watch TV, but I can't see what's happening anymore. I wish somebody would narrate that. She hits him in the ribs and says, wait a second. Why can't why can't we do something? Now, that's a leverage question to everyone out there that answers your last question, too, because 50 million Americans are unemployed and not going to have somewhere to go back to, and a billion people around the planet. Therefore, you got to think anew. You got to become an entrepreneur. You got to be a business creator. Well, what did they do? They started something that you and I wouldn't think about because we're sighted. They started the narrative NTV,
yeah.
narrative television network that's watched by 14 million people a month at $10 each to the blind, which is a great help. Now, that'd be great, but then he said, I wrote that book, The Ultimate Gift, which if you haven't read it, you want to read it after you read Ask. But he says, and we're just with him in Tulsa. He lives in Tulsa. And he says, I now write books that I can't read. And I make movies. He made $100 million with a movie that I can't watch, thanks to Mark Victor Hansen seeing what I couldn't see. And that's what I'm saying is we all need somebody to ask. We all need a mentor. We all need to be a mentee because you never arrive. There's the road to self-improvement is always under construction, and the ticket there, the path, excuse me, I'm choking on my own talk. Here is the path is asking the right questions in the right way at the right time, like Crystal said.
That's right. I don't, it's just like you said in the beginning of the show, not everybody is created equal, but in God's eyes, they are. But not everybody's going to be the president. Not everybody. Some people are going to be janitors. Some people are going to be other things. But I believe in every person alive, there's greatness upon them some way, some form inside their body, and they have to figure out what that is.
100%. And you know what? Each one of us influences directly at least 200 people, and we don't realize that. I'm just because you said janitor, our daughter's a special education teacher, and she has the most amazing janitor. She said, Mom, this guy is so good to us teachers, because the teachers, they never have enough resources. They're taking their own money and buying things. He'll come in and do little special things for them, build things. And he just does it. He's such a sweetheart. Out of the goodness of his heart, he'll stay late or whatever, help him get things set up. And, come Christmas time, birthdays, whatever, any holiday, he gets showered with gift cards and all these great things. So, his abundance flows too. So it's just sort of this whole abundance circle. If we receive when we give too. We need to remember to give and give and give. And that means wake up every day and give your best. Give your best. That's what we're here for. We have to shake off the darkness, shake off the fear that we've had, shake off the PTSD. It's been scary, but you know what? We don't have, nothing is going to conquer us. if when we realize who we are, that we live with the light of God inside of us every minute. Nothing can turn off our light. And we need to just keep reminding ourselves of that daily and take that asking journey, because there is nothing like asking that it's the mechanism that has the ability to reveal everything that's hidden from you.
Wow. Mike?
Well, I'm sitting there thinking, I could have used this book about 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, when I was paying a few $1,000s a month to a business coach.
Yeah.
But I mean, okay.
Right.
And learning to ask the right question, guys. It's not a clean game either. It can be messy, but it's only going to be as messy from what I experienced and from what I'm hearing about the book. It's only going to be as messy as you allow it to be, because that good is going to come out. It's going to come forward, and the book was going to help provoke that. Truth is not always a rose garden. Okay.
Right.
And then when you face those self-truths and you start facing truths from your spouse, or you and your spouse are facing truths about your relationship, and you start cleaning those things up, and your community, y'all start. I mean, I can remember when I was a kid, our community, we all looked out for each other. Oh shoot, my neighbor used to give me a spanking if I deserved it. Now now your neighbor gets sued if he touches you. So I mean, it's coming back twofold and tenfold to the good side of things, and that when it comes to business, like I said, I wish I had this book 4 years ago.
I just want to tell my listeners one more time. Whoops. Please, Frogonites, go to Amazon, buy this book. Go to askthebookclub.com. Get this book. This book could literally change your life if you take what's in it and use it. Okay? I'm asking my Frogonites to buy this book. Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, and I was going to say, so the book, you can get it on Amazon or Barnes & Noble or even smaller bookstores. But, Amazon's always the easiest for everybody, I think. But so Ask the Book Club, you can't actually buy the book there, but that's going to be a free invitation to our book club. So after you get the book, then go to Ask the Book Club.
Okay.
So you can make sure we send you an invitation to the book club. I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for straightening that out.
It's okay.
And I want to hitchhike on what you said, Mike, about people doing more good than bad, and that what you wanted 4 years ago. We're helpers at childhelp.org, where we've helped 11 million kids get out of abuse, out of neglect, and sex trafficking.
God bless you.
And this weekend we had our big ball. I mean, black tie, tuxedo, all that good stuff, her in an elegant gown. We have this little girl that we've known now for the last 5 years, Roosevelt.
Yeah.
And all of the parents have named all the kids after president. They got 6 kids, and it's sort of interesting. But little Roosevelt, as a singer, has already sung and raised $100,000 to make sure no kids go through pain like that. She is going to raise $1 million. How old is she? 14?
Yeah, she just turned 14, and then she's
amazing.
just a little. She just has this determined heart. She loves the kids, and she put on this little event by herself. Got her community to support it and raised $100,000. She said, "This year my goal is $1 million." Now that she's 14, and 100% of it goes to child help. And
everybody falls in love with her. And what it does is back to your question, is it back to your old neighborhood? It opens up their heart again, because right now I think, and you guys tell me if you don't agree, this crazy lockdown, which ivermectin would have solved, or hydrochloroquine. And what happens is, now that they're locked down, we're starting to open up, and people are taking off the masks, and people are starting to move again, and we're starting to travel. The people will open up to each other again. And all I can tell you is that this event was totally sold out months before it happened. It filled the hotel ballrooms.
Wow.
And all I can tell you is that everywhere we go, like the restaurants here in Arizona are open. So the people are amazing. They're smiling. They're laughing again. They're so happy. And there's not one that doesn't say, "Thank God we've been released." Because remember, they're supposed to be, let me see if you guys know it, the land of the
free,
the home of the
brave.
Our bravery has been squished. When we
happen.
start to tell you that you can and can't do stuff in the cancel culture, that's not okay with me. I'm on my little bully pulpit, because Thomas Paine said it correct. If you don't stand for something, meaning principle, then you'll fall for anything. And the principles are, America is built by deists, guys that knew God, right? All of them. And they didn't know that this would work because there'd never been a democracy before 1776. We've got a democracy. They asked the right questions. We had the right guys. I mean, Ben Franklin was the greatest inventor and created bifocals and flippers and printing and books, and wrote great stuff and thought great thoughts. But he's old, but he wears that white wig, so it looks like he's the same age as this 22-year-old who wrote a little thing called the Declaration of Independence. And he said, Tommy, I think this word here has got to get changed. It's just so cute when you read the original stuff because, you know, there's 50 years difference between the mentor and the mentee, but they all look the same because they wore white wigs.
Absolutely amazing times we're going through. And it seems like with everything opening back up, it's almost like we're getting a second shot at everything. We can't blow it this time. You know what I mean? We can't give up on ourselves or give up on our country or give up on our communities. I just feel that's where we're at now. And I feel like as like the event you were in Oklahoma, as that travels the country with Scott and several other people, you're going to see patriotism build back in our country like never, ever before. And you're going to see what we stand for, the Constitution. And people might not know it, but there's a second Declaration of Independence that was signed last 4th of July. They're getting ready to find out. But I had to throw that in there. That's the only thing about my show I will throw in. But great things are about to happen. This is the best time to be alive ever. You're going to be able to tell your grandkids you were here when God moved the world.
Right. Oh boy, I love that. And you know, more than ever, we need to shine our light and also show a lot of love for everybody, even people who don't agree with you guys, because what we're seeing more and more is people who thought they believed one way have been shocked and stunned. They're like, what is going on? And they're waking up. Everyone's waking up. It's astounding. We have so many friends from California who've been, you know, lifelong liberals, but like they're going, this isn't liberalism. Something's going on. They're telling me that I have to. One of them just got, my sister she used to be more liberal. She became a total conservative. And then she and her other friends were trying to organize and like inform other people what was going on before the election. And one of her friends who works for the state in California just got a notice last week saying, you need to start questioning, it is a government agency, questioning whether people have the vaccine, and you need to ask them every 2 weeks, pressure them every 2 weeks, and they need to fill out a form if they don't have the vaccine and answer why they don't. I mean, so here's where we need to teach people, be very loving and teach people that they need to ask the right questions. Do these people have any right to be asking me about my health? The answer is no. And then ask them, show me the constitutional right you have. Show me where it says you can ask me, that you can prevent me from going to my job. Is that written down somewhere? Is there a law that you can show me? You can accomplish a lot by asking questions. When someone challenges you, ask them a question back.
And yesterday we sat with two young guys that are in two different universities here. And one of them was president at ASU, a young kid, tall, 6'8", big guy. And they were starting to ask us questions, and they were conservative, but they're just blown away how much information there is if you wake up your mind and start to do it. And I said, look, this is the headquarters here in Arizona of Turning Point, with a young guy that'll probably be president in the future, and the guy who never went to college, but that doesn't, whether you go to college or not, doesn't make you a genius or smart. What makes you genius or smart is, do you do your homework? Are you really thinking? Are you using all your brain cells? Because what we said about the book Ask is that you're born over-endowed, but there's only one way to get into it and have illumination, insight, revelation, and answers, and that is to ASK, to GET the information out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mike?
That's powerful. That's very powerful. A couple of things hit me while y'all were talking just now, and for the life of me, after he just said ASK GET, it kind of cleared it all up. But
We're glad to be with you good old boys. That's good.
So having said that, give me a second. Let me recollect my thought, Doug.
Okay.
Well, while you're thinking about that, let me mention one thing about asking other people. We looked at a whole bunch of studies for the book, and because I want people to know this, because people are scared to ask, right? Other people things. So the studies all show that like the people going into the study all felt the same way. Like if they asked someone for help, information, advice, or just asked someone to assist them with something, some kind of assistance, that they would be perceived as being stupid, ignorant, uninformed, or just pushy and obnoxious, right? That's what the studies are like. Pretty much consistently, everybody kind of thought that, like, oh, I don't ask because this is what they're going to think of me. The studies show that like none of that's true. That if you just put yourself out there, if you're willing to put yourself out there and just ask for help, information, advice, assistance, things like that, that there's an 80% more likely chance that your request will be granted. That people actually like to help other people, and we're wired for that. But the other interesting part of the study is that it showed that if you don't ask, no one's just going to step up and figure out what you need and help you, right? Yeah. So it's like we're not really naturally programmed to ask, so we have to learn it. We have to learn it and teach ourselves and remind ourselves. It's super, super important. And then the other part of the study that was interesting is those people who were better at asking questions in business relationships were perceived to be like more likable, more as business partners or colleagues. And in the dating study, the people who asked more questions of the dating partner they were with were more likely to get a second date.
Seeing that you're talking about that, I wanted to ask you guys, because I heard you on another call. Tell us how you two guys met.
Should I go first with my mom?
Yeah.
It's okay. So I've had my life coaching practice and amazing things were happening. So I decided to start writing a book about it called Pure Thoughts for Pure Results. Because like people were coming to me who had been depressed their whole lives, anxiety, and like in 5 appointments, they're like, I can honestly say I'm free of my crushing depression that I've had my whole life. So it can happen. So anyhow, my mom knows I'm writing this book. She calls me one day and she's like, I just got an email. There's Author 101 conference in LA. I lived in Scottsdale at the time. She's like, there'll be publishers and publicists there. And Mark Victor Hansen will be there. And I was like, oh, woo, Mom. Okay, well, when is it? She goes, it's the day after tomorrow. And I go, oh, that's too soon. I can't go. I'm sure they're sold out. I was trying to get out of it. She goes, call right now. And I was like, oh, no, I don't have anyone to watch the kids because I was newly divorced. She goes, I'll watch the kids. So I'm like, okay, Mom, I'm going to call them just for you. No, so I call them up and the promoter called me back personally within 5 minutes. I'm like, this is strange. I mean, I'm surprised his assistant didn't call me. He called me himself. He's like, Crystal, we'd love to have you. We're not sold out. Come on over. So literally a day and a half later, I'm at this event. Kind of has a life of its own because I was really trying to get out of it. And Mark's the keynote speaker. I'm in the VIP room and I'm telling myself they were, just serving appetizers and drinks. And I'm like, I'm not even going to drink. I'm not even having a glass of wine. I am all business. I'm here to, talk about my work. And so he's over in the corner surrounded by this entourage of people, of course, Mark. And I'm just over here talking to his speaking coach. And this woman, ironically, knocks accidentally, like she's talking with her hands and she knocked a whole glass of red wine on my white pants. Ironically, I'm the girl who's not even drinking. The whole thing goes on my white pants. And so all of a sudden, Mark breaks out of his group. He comes rushing across the room to me. He grabs my hand. He's like, oh, so sorry that happened. I think I know where the club soda is. Here, follow me. He pulled me out of the room. And he did know where the club soda was because he'd had a lot of events at that hotel. It was an LA hotel. And we got the club soda. And then he just started talking like, what do you do? Tell me about yourself. And we started chatting. He's like, there's something about you that I just think could be really instrumental for helping people, especially women. I want to hear more, but I am starving. Do you want to grab a bite to eat? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, well, let's leave the property. Otherwise, I'll be surrounded all night by people asking me questions. But it was funny because I ran up to my room and I said, Mom, I got to hurry. How are the kids? And she's like, they're fine. I go, you won't believe it. Mark Victor Hansen and I are going to dinner. And she goes, I knew it.
So let me add 2 more parts to that you guys, I think, will appreciate. I take her to the best restaurant in Hollywood. and there's like 50 people outside at 9:30 or 10 at night. And I go, oh, yeah, $100 bill is not getting me in here. So I go, okay, we'll just try it. And remember, we're teaching ask, right? Ask the question.
Right.
Ask does everything. So we go straight up to the gatekeeper, and he looks at her. And for those of you that are listening and can't see, my wife is extraordinarily gorgeous. She has fluke protrusions emanate out every pore of her body. So the guy looks at her and goes, oh boy, she's a movie star, but I don't recognize her. He says, he looks at me and he says, okay, Bubba, who is she? Now remember, questions are the answer. So I said, you don't recognize her? Now he's done for.
Reverse psychology.
Right? Because his mind is full. Yeah, I thought Mike would like this. So his mind's in full tilt boogie going, oh my God, I guess I didn't read People magazine this month or in Style or some damn thing. Okay, he says, I get that. Who is she? I said, you really don't recognize her? He said, okay, who is she? I said, now remember, we're of Danish descent, so I'm playing around, goofing, and I said, she's the Queen of Denmark. He says, no. He said, oh my God, she's a queen. Who are you? I said, back to questions. I said, who travels with the Queen? He said, you're the king. Hold on 1 second. Now, I know you guys are laughing. So, going backwards, I've gone through a really painful and extraordinarily expensive divorce. So I said, well, look, God, I don't know if you can do this. I'm going to ask you what the perfect woman for me would be like. What would my soulmate look like? So I literally kept asking God until I ran out of things to write down. I wrote down 267 things we need. We had to have the same spiritual values. We had to both want to have fun in life. We both had to want to take care of ourselves. We both had to want to source and serve humanity to its own success. Stuff that, because most people, you know, when you're young and 16, you go, man, I want to be a good-looking, hot-looking babe. And when you're in a woman, I want to be tall, dark, and handsome, or whatever they want, right? Too superficial. And so, but I never told her until after we got married. She was 267 out of 267. And I said, when you get your goal, you don't cross out, I got the milk, the eggs, the butter. You write down victory, and God's highest color, top of the rainbow is purple, the top of the electromagnetic spectrum. So I wrote, she was purple all the way through.
I heard that story before a little bit differently. It's same story, and I thought it was great. That's why I decided to ask it. Guys, we got another show to do right after this, and I want to thank you so much for coming on. Listen again, Frogonites, buy this book wherever you can buy it. I don't care where you go. Go to Amazon. I don't care if you go to Walmart, Barnes and Noble. Buy this book. Change your life. Would you like to add anything, you guys, before we get off the call?
No, I just want to thank everybody for being there, and join us for the Ask the Book Club. Let's keep the journey going. It's always good to be a part of something. That's we all need to be a part of something that's a little bigger than ourselves. I think that really matters. We're supposed to be connected to each other. So, yeah. So let's do that and just stay connected and take the journey forward.
Frogonites, you are passionately on purpose. So just remember, the size of your question determines the size of your results. So I want you to ask bigger, better, bolder, stronger, more result-getting questions than you've ever asked.
Thank you so much for coming on. It's been an honor. Mike, do you have anything in closing?
I'd just like to ask them if they're in the neighborhood again to stop by and share with us. And we look forward to probably seeing you out there because we're starting to get asked out as well.
Awesome. Fantastic.
You will love it.
We look forward to it, you guys.
We're going to be at the event soon, but not as speakers, so to speak, just as maybe like you started out as VIP, and maybe we can make a dent in it. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a good night, and God.
You too. Bye-bye.